The original plan was to do a huge video at 500, but while shooting the video, I got to 1,000, so here we go. The 1,000 subscriber episode, 1 hour long. I hope you enjoy. What's this? A box from bolterbunny.com. Bolter Bunny was kind enough to throw in some extras. There's some brushes by Army Painter, and also a free white dwarf, which was excellent because I'm a huge Warhammer nerd. And there was also the thing I ordered, the Space Marine Bunker Buster Orbital Drop Thing of Doom. But most importantly, they sent a box. Let's break this thing down into usable pieces, and then we'll see what we can make. I've wanted to make something big, something with a lot of effort. I've shown some little things, but for 1,000 subscribers, I want to give you something cool. When breaking down a box, you just want to break it down into panels. Then you're going to want to grab a carpenter square or anything that's square. It really helps when you're doing measurements to have at least one solid edge to cut off of. I was thinking to myself that it doesn't always have to be ruins. Let's build a tower that someone actually lives in. Not something that's been hit by catapults and destroyed and is in ruins, but an actual functioning, occupied home. And hey, it's a celebration video, so we should make it really cool. Let's make it modular so they can play each floor, and let's make sure it has a 1-inch grid so you can play off of it. And let's make it stackable. And that's how I ended up with an hour-long video. There's actually about 16 hours of footage that got cut into this 1 hour video. So I decided to make the walls 2.5 inches high. That's 2 inches with a 5 foot per inch scale that most role-playing games use, makes it 10-foot ceilings. The extra 1/2 inch is for the locking mechanism to stack the floors. Now I'm going to do something different in this video. In this video, I'm going to show you my mistakes that I made and what I did to solve them. When you're just kind of shooting off the cuff like this, you make a lot of mistakes. You go back and fix things, and I'm going to show those and point them out and talk about them. Here we're assembling the walls for the first floor. They're roughly 8 inches square. Now, a lot of this is not exactly square because the cardboard was pre-folded, so I just kind of did the best I could. Most of the time I use PVA glue, but for this video I used an awful lot of hot glue. This would have been a month from now being released if I had waited around for every piece of PVA to dry, and you don't have that kind of time, I don't have that kind of time, so I used hot glue. What I'm doing here is sketching in a basic arch and then cutting it in for the front door. I have this vague idea of a portcullis. We'll see how it works out. Now I'm recording this after I've done it. I know how it works out. Welcome to the first of many mistakes. I'd also like to apologize for, you'll notice a lot of my work is down at the bottom of the screen. I raised my camera so you could get a better view of my workstation, and this was shot over the course of many days. My clothes will change, and I didn't have the camera tilted quite right. You can still see what I'm doing, but I would like to have it better centered in the next video. So these are the risers. My thought was just to make a little groove path that the door could travel in. I initially started with cardboard. That will change. So that extra 1/2 inch at the top of the wall, what I did was I cut little strips of cardstock to be tabs in between floors. A 1/4 inch would be sticking out from the top, and a 1/4 inch would go down into the room, leaving me, 2 inches in the room. These didn't work great, so I'm not going to show the entire process. Basically, I cut a strip for all 4 corners of the room and put them in. They are eventually replaced. They folded, they didn't hold well, they were rough to stack, and it just wasn't secure, and later you'll see what I actually did at the end. Adding insult to injury for this mistake, I used PVA glue because hot glue leaves a bit of a gap and it would have eaten up some of the room space. So everything took forever to dry and then got ripped out later. Now here I'm not acting a fool and I used hot glue to glue on the floor. The floor went well. I'm actually really happy how this turned out at the very end. You probably saw the slate at the beginning. This was a pretty battered box. There was a lot of deliveries going on. The weather was bad and it kind of sat outside for a little bit before it came inside. And even for the condition this box was in, it turned out really well. So don't be afraid to use little pieces of cardboard that you may not initially think. You don't have to have beautiful pieces to make something really, really nice. Unlike a lot of my other pieces, I didn't want anything sticking out of the base of the tower. I wanted to be able to plop this down in anything. So there's not going to be any grass around outside. That way I can use this piece in a cityscape, in the mountains, in the grasslands, in the forest. It can be used anywhere. And yeah, that's why I didn't put a base on it. Now here I'm adding in the floor tiles. These tiles are 1 inch square and they're cut out of cardstock. There will be another mistake. See if you can spot it before I tell you about it. I cut so many of these because of course I had to have 4 floors. I eventually learned that once you have them in the square shape, you can cut in the little divots and cracks that make them look more like old flagstones and less of just a grid. That you can cut those in groups of up to 4. That sped things along. But I'm not used to cutting this much, and I've got to tell you, by the end of this project, my thumb was pretty sore. Do you see it? Do you see it? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Always, always, always put the printed side down, Matthew. What are you doing? No, stop, stop, stop. Oh, you fool. You fool. And fixed. I pulled them up while the glue was still a little wet, so they weren't firmly glued to it, which was a blessing, and reversed them. The paint does not stick as well to the printed side, so you're going to want, whenever you do something like this, you're going to want the cardstock side up. I also switched over to a glue stick. Now, I haven't used one of these since junior high, grade school, somewhere in that time. I missed it. It was nice. I miss my glue stick. Now, I had left a space in between the tiles, which meant the ones nearest to the door had to be a little skinnier, just like 1/8 of an inch off, just to squeeze them in that part. And that's 1 floor done, 3 to go. So as you can see here, I've already made the walls for the second floor. What I'm doing is I'm offsetting the floor, which will be the ceiling for the first floor, by about 1/4 of an inch. I didn't measure it too much, I just kind of eyeballed it. And that'll make sure that the tabs from the first floor go into the second floor and hold it in place. Or it would if the tabs weren't of the flimsiest cardstock. Even with fast drying hot glue, you're going to want to take the time to hold it just to keep that square shape. The box is under tension, and when you hold it in place for these gluing moments, it adds strength to the proper shape and relieves some of the strain on the wall joints. So as it's drying, make sure to hold it. And this is the second set of tabs to go into the third floor. I still haven't realized how to fix this problem yet. I had dry test fitted. It was a bit of a struggle, but you know, I got it on. The problem is that with wear, they degrade real fast, so yeah. Now on these, I did try something new, and that was to round the corners, hoping that that was the problem. It wasn't the problem. Here you can see me struggling to fit the pieces together. You don't want that at the table. You want to be able to remove things smoothly so as not to break immersion and break story flow. You don't often think about the quality of what you build at and how it aids beyond visually, but if you're struggling with a piece at the table, it takes people out of the moment. So you don't want that whenever possible. So we're just going to skip ahead. Here's the third floor, and I figured it out. The problem is that they were bending. I have popsicle sticks. I got them at the dollar store. They cost next to nothing. We're talking fractions of a penny per stick. So use it. Use popsicle sticks. Use anything that's far more rigid than cardstock. You can see the immediate decision making after I do the test fit. It's like, okay, that works, that's great, that slaps right on. We're tearing all these out. So much better. I gotta tell you, at that moment, when I was stacking these up and it was getting worse and worse and wobblier before the popsicle sticks, I was starting to lose momentum. So just remember, always try and revisit whatever problem is holding you back. There is always an easy solution in hindsight. Don't let yourself get discouraged. Just keep working the project and you'll figure it out eventually. Now, for the fourth floor, I wanted something just a little different. I wanted it to be taller, so the wall was 4 inches high instead of 2.5. And I had it in my mind that this is where the wizard conducted his experiments, his magical research, his alchemical investigations. So I wanted a few things here. I wanted it to be bigger, have a bigger feel. And I also wanted it to have gratings, not windows per se, because windows break when you make a spell and it goes off in your face. I wanted iron or brass or copper gratings in all the windows so that explosions would dissipate out into, the outside. Beyond that, though, it's basically the same as before. It's 4 walls. We didn't put popsicle sticks at the top because the roof is going to sit directly over this. So I'm going to glue the 4 walls together, and then I'm going to try and figure out a way to take the middle of each wall, which are not exactly square, so one measurement won't work for all, and try and cut up a window in the exact center of each wall. And let's make it rounded just to make it super difficult. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a floor, so I'm going to have to raise them. Well, you know, 1/8 of an inch will be fine. Of course, the floors sit up 1/4 of an inch, which means the floor will actually be able to be seen through the window. But that is a thought for later when I realized that my floor was coming through the window. I don't have a compass, I don't have a protractor, so I'm going to do what any peasant level crafter will do, and I'm just going to grab various round things till I find a half circle that's close enough to give these that arched look. Okay, let's cut them out. At this point, another mistake, realized I hadn't peeled the plastic off the back, so my first cut went to crap real fast. I'll spare you the sight of me peeling off plastic. I've received a couple of complaints on some of my earlier videos about the volume of my voice. People said they couldn't hear it, so I turned the music way down on this and turned this channel way up. If this is a lot easier for you to hear and understand, especially when being played through a phone, please feel free to leave a comment below. Just, yes, this works better would be wonderful. Roof attempt number 1. This was just going to be an easy A-frame. I was just going to prop the pieces up, glue them, and hope for the best. I did not like the way this looked. It's like an oversized milk carton. And, you know, I have nothing against milk, but that's not where a wizard lives. A wizard lives in a twisted tower with weird, fantastical roofs. Not, you know, a row house. So all my measurements are always great. That's totally square, right? 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 Oh, no. All right, trim it. That is just steam puffs of anger. I'm certainly not vaping. Don't smoke, kids. So this video was so long I put all 3 of my songs in it. The first one is called The March, and I always envisioned an army of soldiers marching, you know, with their pikes over their shoulders and their shields, heading to a battlefield. The second one, which is playing now, is called The Charge, And this is after they've spotted the enemy, they begin to rush forward. And the third one is called hitting the wall, where they actually engage the enemy, and it's supposed to sound like the melee of combat, just the craziness of it. I hope you like them. I wanted to put my own music on here so the YouTube algorithms wouldn't take down my videos for having someone else's music in it. Ah yes, you can actually see the floor through the window. Let's fix that. So I'm just installing coffee stirrers from still the first batch I ever got for my first video. Yeah, just the same cup of coffee filled with coffee stirrers. That $1 has stretched through a lot of videos. As the song goes, if I knew now what I knew then, I probably didn't have to even take this step. It would have bothered me to know it's there, but the brick certainly would have hit it when I did brick. Brick hides all sins. The thing about it is that every time I looked at it, I would know that there was a gap there. So even if it's not going to be visible, I like to fix things just because I don't want to look at it and just see what's wrong with it. I want to look at it and know that even if I messed up, I did my best. So I always try and take the time to fix things that are off. At this point, I realized that this is quite enough floors. So yeah, 4 floors. I didn't show a lot of stuff, but a lot of it was repetition. I don't think I showed anything on the making of the 3rd floor. So this is it was under $1. A sheet of cross-stitching mesh that you can get at any fabric store or any sewing store. It makes for great grading. I use it for portcullises. I use it for window grates. It's a fantastic material, and it's dirt cheap. As you can see, a little squares cut out from a previous project. Get yourself a sheet. You can afford 93 cents. Yeah. It's fantastic, and it's a thing that you should have in your arsenal, even as a peasant level crafter. I'd like to say the response I've gotten on this channel is just amazing. I'm so grateful for everyone who's left a comment or liked a video or subscribed to the channel. I started this video just before 500 views. I'm like, 500 subscribers. I'm like, I have to do something cool, and it is just increased exponentially since then. As I'm literally saying this right now, I'm at 981 subscribers, and my phone keeps dinging every couple of minutes as I get a new subscriber. Through the rendering process, finishing these voiceovers, and the upload, I'll probably get real close to 1,000. So it may not be exactly 1,000 when it releases, but it's going to be close. And I'd just like to take the time to say thank you to everyone who has stopped by my channel. You people and your comments mean the world to me. I take my time and try to respond to every comment because I love the fact that you enjoyed my video enough to comment on it, positive or negative. I can learn from whatever anyone has to say. A lot of you have given me some great ideas that I look forward to plagiarizing and using in the future. And yeah, just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So that was really long-winded, that last one, so I'm going to have to make up speed here. I tore off the door, the runners for the door, and I installed a wooden runner. Roof Part 2, the re-roofing. I tried a pyramid shape, but high school geometry was a very long time ago, and I couldn't pull it off, and I didn't have anything to measure it with, and it was garbage. And I just decided to freehand a swirling roof, and I think it looks so much better. Again, for every job there is a proper tool. PVA, you could do this with PVA. You could do this with superglue. PVA would be a nightmare for this moment. So if you don't have a hot glue gun, you can sometimes find them at the dollar store. You can usually find one for like $5 at like a Walmart or something like that, whatever your discount big box is. I normally don't recommend you go to these places, but I mean, peasant level, you got to get what you get. And that's another thing you need to have in your toolbox is a hot glue gun, because there are some forms that just you can't sit there and hold while the glue dries. You need hot glue. I'm not sure where I first heard the title, The Crooked Tower. It's must have been in one of the hundreds of thousands of fantasy books I've read over the years. When I got to the roof, I made a little effort to keep it square, but at the same time, I wanted this part to look crazy and crooked and just like magic had gone up into the ceiling. That's what that little twist is. That's the magical explosion had traveled there and warped the roof. So while I tried to eyeball it square, I didn't try too hard. It's supposed to look a little off. Liberal use of glue and cardboard will cover most problems. You can actually use hot glue as a filler if you didn't know that. I'm sure most professional crafters do, but I am not a professional crafter. There was a couple more things I wanted to do, like I wanted to add like a little window sticking out, and I wanted to add like this crazy swirly chimney. But at this point, I had been working on this in my spare time for 5 days, and I had promised a video every week. I tried to do something big, it ate up a lot of time, so I just kind of let it go at that, and hoped that the detail that I was about to put on the roof, which took another 5 hours of cutting, would be enough to fill that hole. Hot glue gets everywhere. Try and clean as you go. It'll stick to your fingers. It'll burn a little bit. It'll be all right. So here's the bare bones outline of the Crooked Tower. I like this part of any build because you see its shape, and then you start thinking detail, and you start thinking, what can I do to bring this to life? All of this before this point was basically just your canvas being put together. Now you get to start doing the fun part, which is playing. But before the fun part, you have to roof it, and you have to cut out 1 million bricks, both of which will take forever. So yeah, the fun part's still a bit, but if you like that kind of thing, and I kind of do, it's a good part, and it's fun. But I like where you can see it come together, where you can start to see its potential. If you're smart, you'll use a better craft paint than I did. This was less than $1 from Home Depot, and I bought it like 4 years ago. It left a real shiny surface that took multiple coats to get out. Go with a matte. Don't go for the bargain basement super cheap stuff that I got. Okay, let's cut 55,000 bricks. Sharpen your knife. This is the same stuff from my first video. I still have a ton of it left. Yeah, cutting bricks, I will not bore you with the eternity of cutting bricks. I cut bricks for a very, very long time. Yeah, just settle down, put on what I do is I usually watch some other YouTube videos, watch some blacksmithing videos, or I watch If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, or RB and the Chief or Red versus Blue, or, you know, something that you don't need to watch. You can just kind of tune into and listen to. You're going to be cutting bricks for a while. You need a lot of bricks. Remember to use long drawing cuts when you do this. Lukas from Bards Craft is amazing with a kitchen knife and cutting bricks. The man is practiced and he's really good at it. I'm getting better, but I'm not to that level yet. One of the things to remember is just long, smooth drawing cuts and keep your knife sharp. This is the same thing you saw before. It's a tin with rocks in it. You put the bricks in, you shake it, and the rocks impact the foam of the brick and impart some slight irregularities to it. And it's easier than going over the whole thing with like a tinfoil ball or any of the other things. Just load it up with bricks, shake it like heck. A long time later. Okay, now you just glue on bricks. I'm going to show you a little bit, and then I'm just going to skip forward to the end because this is going to take a while. Frame in your doors and windows, and everything else, just lay bricks. It helps to keep a small X-Acto knife nearby. Sometimes a brick won't fit. Sometimes you need to cut a brick in half to begin and or end a run. Just, you know, keep one nearby. That door, that bloody door. So I tried a lot of things with that wooden door. I tried filing it so that it would slide better. I tried a lot of things. In the end, I don't show its construction, but I just went with a cardstock door. It was way easier. It slid from one floor to the next really well because it actually has to go up to allow people to go in. So there is a it slides over the next floor. That door gave me nightmares. The door frame, it was all annoying. Also, something you can do here is make sure that you keep your top bricks at the level of the cardboard. I kind of went over and I had to come back later and trim it. You'll see that later. Bricks, 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 laying bricks, 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 laying bricks, 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 bricks. This goes on forever. It's best just to settle down. Like I said earlier, put on something you like. There's a lot of steps in this particular build that are kind of tedious. This and the roof took a very long time, and you can't rush it. There's no way around it. I could have done things like used the Dollar Tree foam core board and just impressed bricks on it, but honestly I think this looks better, and I wanted this to be a really good looking piece. Here you see I skipped ahead. There's the 3 levels. I'm just not going to show any more bricklaying. I'm going to do the same with the roof and just kind of show what I'm basically doing and then skip forward. You frame in everything, keep a couple scrap pieces around to poke into weird holes, and yeah, it's just something you got to do. So how am I going to do this? I've seen a couple different ways of doing this. You can lay individual slates, you can trim little pieces of wood, or you can cut out a lot of strips of cardstock at 1 inch, then bisect it at a 1/2 inch at random intervals with scissors and just lay it down like you would an actual roof, like you lay down a row of composite. That's what I did. It was a lot of measuring and a lot of cutting, and I'm not going to show a lot of it. I'm going to show you how to start a run and how to finish it. And yeah, let's skip forward. Okay, trim out your boxes of oats till you have a clean strip. Save your little pieces. You can use them for basing and scatter terrain and whatever. Make 2 marks for each run. You're going to want one at a 1/2 inch and one at 1 inch. So you're going to draw 2 lines, one at the 1/2 inch, one at the inch. Draw it all the way down the length of whatever you have. You're going to use the whole piece. Then you're going to want to go in and cut irregular shapes on the 1/2 inch mark. Those will be your shingles. I figured out later it takes exactly 1 oat box to do one side of this. So this was 4 oat boxes. It's a 4 oat box roof. It's a 4 box roof. When you lay the second row, you're going to want to lay your second row of shingles over your first row solid. So all you see is shingles, and it looks like they're laying over each other as shingles would be set normally. Rinse and repeat. For a roof this size, you're going to need a lot of this. Yeah. Also, one thing you can do before you glue it on is kind of twist the piece around, and that'll upset some of the shingles and give them a nice rough look as if they've been weathered. So yeah, do that. I try not to swear in my videos. I'd never know the age of whoever's watching, but let me say, gosh darn it, that looks really good. Alright, now I just have to finish that one side, and what the heck am I going to do about this top? Okay, now let's cover up the seams. You are going to want to cut a very thin strip, this is a 1/4 inch, and just fold it in half with your finger. It doesn't have to look perfect. It's going to get painted, it's going to have glue on it, it'll look good. Don't worry about it. Okay, just going to cut 2 more strips, and then we can start thinking about how we're going to cover this top. Tops, I actually was a roofer many moons ago. I worked in sheet metal. So for a top like this, you're going to want to do a top cap. Now this is weird because it's got a weird curve and overhang. So it's going to have to go a little bit lower than the overhang itself in order to keep water out. I realize this is a fantasy thing, and he can just magic it out, but you know, proper roof, even for a magical, twisted, warped, crooked roof. Okay, that's all 4 runners done. Now we got to get that cap on. Using a bit of scrap I cut off earlier, I'm going to cut in the rough shape. I'm going to use angles so that other pieces can slide inside. And I'll just kind of rough it in and then trim to fit before I glue. And if you haven't dropped off the attention span cliff by now, this is the third song. This is Hitting the Wall. Okay, so this is going to be the very last little bits before we move on to, thank God, the painting. I know this took a long time. I wanted to show you guys as much as I could while still trimming away the unnecessary bits. This honestly, I've been working on this for a long period each day for like 5 days, 4 days, 4 or 5 days. If you stuck with it this far, good on you. We're almost there. We're going to start painting and start doing the cool stuff now. There it is in all its glory. I got it. See the new door? Yeah. Now, you'll notice that there's some big cracks between the floors. I have to fix that before I move on to the paint. What happened is, like I said earlier, some bricks are up too high, so it's resting on it irregularly. And we're just going to do a quick little trim. I know, it was a cruel thing to say. All right, and now we're moving on to the paint. Oh, wait, let me grab my knife. This project has had a lot of that. This is the biggest thing I've ever tackled, and I certainly learned a lot of stuff along the way. Mainly involving forethought, mainly involving budgeting enough time for a project of this size. I was kind of scrambling. I went out to the coast. There was a snowstorm. Just a lot of stuff happened. But yeah, so we're just going to clean this up and that'll be that. Now, I didn't want to cover it with PVA glue and then spray it because if I had missed a spot and it melted, I would have cried like a 12-year-old boy who was an orphan with a skinned knee lost in the Siberian snow. It would have broken my heart. There's too much effort. So I did it all by hand. I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to do this little piece and then we'll just skip on. And we'll do another skip here. Use dark brown and make sure you get at least a little bit under some of the raised tiles. So your first swipe with a heavily loaded brush will be under the row of tiles, then paint down it. You don't want to show unfinished tile roofing on any angle. So make sure you get under those things. It'll take time, just like everything else. I do declare it's starting to look like something. So now we're going to do my favorite part. We're going to start overbrushing with a dark gray. Remember, this is an overbrush, not a dry brush, so you're going to want a decent amount of paint on your brush. Wipe some of it off, but, leave enough to mark. Just use a light touch, and don't be afraid to go back over where you've gone before. It'll all be okay. Worst comes to worst, you slap more black on. This whole process, the 3 colors, takes very little time. So, yeah. Again, I really like this part. This is where it starts living to me. It starts looking good. And man, am I excited to be here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the inside yet. I'm just going to hit it with my normal stone texture for now. I might do a second video on stuff that you can put inside your wizard's tower. Tapestries on the walls, magic circles on the floor, alembics, bookcases, things, alchemical supplies, potion racks, things of that nature. But, a lot of that has already been done by much better crafters than myself. So, I'll think about it. I try not to do too many things that other people have done. I mean, everyone's done everything, but I'd like to try and add original knowledge wherever possible, original tricks. That, however, is not an ironclad guarantee that I won't plagiarize the heck out of somebody. Oh, that looks good to me. That makes my heart happy. Yes. Yes. I'm working my way up and down too, so that some swipes with brush on it travel from one floor to another, just to kind of blend it together so that no one floor looks like it was done separately. I don't know if it worked, but my thought was that it would drag the eye naturally from one floor to the next. Also, at this stage, make sure you get the inside of the casements where the grates are so that those aren't just unrelieved black. And yeah, there it is. So last time I used a khaki. This time I'm going back to my ancient parchment. I like the way it looks better. It's not technically a color you'd expect to see in stone, but I like the sharpness with which it picks out edges. That's just a personal choice. Most people use a tan, and feel free to do that. Yeah, then I just used my big brush and slapped it on. Now this one is a dry brush. Make sure you get most of the paint off. I use a big brush because it carries a lot of paint. This is made of corn husk or something silly. But yeah, most of the paint has to come off that brush for it to look good. I did the inside as well, just because I always figured it was of the same stone, and I like the effect. Okay, now we're going to start layering the roof. The tower itself is done. We're going to use a lighter brown. Here I'm using nutmeg. and we're going to do an overbrush. Don't worry about getting under the tiles this time. This is just to pick out detail and add weathering. Make sure you get the side rails running from top to bottom and the cap on top. Oh, and let's not forget about door Mark III. Make sure you hit that too. Now, using the same brush and the same white, I like to go over the roof. I really like that weathered look. It just reminds me of old and dry wood. So here I'm trying something new. This is safflower oil and oil paint, and apparently you can use it to make a wash. And because I spent so much time and effort on, all of this, I'm going to try something completely new that I have no idea what works because smart. If you're looking at the tower right now, you can see where I hit it with a blotch. I did not like it there. So like I said earlier, you can touch up pretty easy. Once it dries, just go over again with gray and white and it'll look fine. It did look very good on the roof, and I enjoyed what it did there. Continuing in the realms of you live and you learn, I used a very cheap silver. It looked awful. I was trying to do the door furniture, the bars going across the door to look like steel bars. Did not work. Had to use copper. Oh, game color, you've saved me more than once. I'm going to now copperize all the grates. They were going to be silver, but I didn't like that silver. So, and I thought it was kind of an unrelieved feeling, and the warmth of the copper would mesh with the warmth of the wood of the roof, and just make a better looking piece. And I think that did work out. So I had some ideas for doing torches. I saw Wyloch do this first, I believe. I'm not sure if the idea originated with him. It might have been DM Scotty. But I found some nice beads at the dollar store in a bag of like 50 other beads. And I grabbed them. And then I'm going to cut up Q-tip and make that into torches. And you can see how. Basically, I'm just rolling and tugging and trying to get a flame-like shape, and then my fingers are covered in glue, so hopefully that holds the Q-tip. I'm going to glue the Q-tips into the beads, and I'll glue the beads to the wall. But first, I'm going to want to paint them. You do, if I remember correct, and I may not be remembering correctly, you do the red first, and then you overbrush with the yellow, so that, where the fire is hottest. No, wait, I might have that backwards. I think I have that backwards. Oh well, I still think it looks like a good torch. I don't care. It's too late now. They're magic torches. I'm just going to call magic, and that will fix it, right? All right, so overbrushing with the yellow. I'm trying something new here. This is the glow of the torches. It's okay. I'm not entirely satisfied with the technique. I think I could have done better, and I'm going to research how to do better. I like it, but I think it's missing something, and I'm not sure what. At this point, however, I just didn't care anymore, so I'm just slapping it to the wall. Okay, I had grand visions of this door going up and down, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up one of my leatherworking needles, use this for sinew, and I'm going to use this hot needle to poke a hole through the lintel above the door so I can install a rope to pull it up. Now, I really wanted to get some more of that copper on. I really like that color, so I'm going to say that this door is braided copper wire. A metal which is hard to cut. It makes it hard for thieves to break in. I'm going to super glue it to the back of the door. I'm going to work the paint into the line, and I'm going to glue a ring to the top so that I personally can pull it up. I fumbled about with it because I have like big ape hands, and this was very delicate work, but I got it in the end. Super glue and duct tape, folks. Super glue and duct tape. With enough of it, any problem becomes surmountable. I had a little bit of a problem getting it to the back of the door. I tried just to hold it and whatever. It was all wrong. So I eventually just lifted from the back of the piece and installed that way because it just kept falling off. And I was afraid of the glue catching on the inside and then I'd have a permanent piece that I'd have to cut away, but this eventually worked. And that's it, my friends. That is the Crooked Tower. It took a long time, and I'm honestly, I'm really happy with it. I know I spent a lot of the video pointing out my mistakes, but I think this is one of the coolest pieces I've ever built, and if you stayed with me to the end, thank you so much for coming on it with me. I worked on this for 5 days, very solidly. I'd like to thank every person who subscribed, who passed it on, who shared it around. You folks have been instrumental in growing this channel, and I couldn't have done it without you. I will continue to try to answer every question, like every post, every comment. You folks have just been fantastic, and I'm very grateful for you. I'd also like to take the time to thank my sponsor, Bolter Bunny, from bolterbunny.com. They're continuing our discount for the channel. It's casual 10 when you go to checkout at bolterbunny.com, and they'll just wipe 10% off. They are also doing a special starting March, which I can go into on the next video, but it is really cool. It's got a lot of discounts, and you get some freebie stuff, and everybody likes freebies. I'm giving away those 3 brushes as, you know, just a thank you for everyone who subscribed. If you want them, go to peasantlevelterrain@gmail.com and just drop me your email. I'll pick out of a hat everyone who enters, and I'll just ship them off to you. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video. Yeah, they're just bending out. They're not holding well. It takes forever. When you're at a table, you don't want to take time. You just want to whip it on and whip it off. That sounded wrong. Here you can see me struggling to get it on. No, that also sounds wrong. So this is the 4th floor. I wanted this to be an atrium. Now on this one, the walls are 4 inches high, which would give me 3 3/4 as usable. I thought this was his lab. This was the area that the wizard did his experiments in. So I wanted a couple of things for this room. I wanted windows, so that if an explosion happened while he was mixing potent chemicals of, you know, the nether regions. Oh, nope. Potent chemicals from the nether regions. So this is crossed as... This is So this is a 93-cent sheet of crotch stitching mesh.